Richard, like I said, this is genuinely right. I have and people might give me shit for this and say I'm like brown nosing or whatever, but I have interviewed hundreds of people at this point, I would say. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, you've interviewed Danny Boyle and all these different people. It's like these are like some of the great." You have been like I don't know if I've felt like this about to have a conversation with somebody. I know that's probably bizarre to hear, but I don't know if I'll be able to actually articulate myself at all if I don't mention the fact that this is like my I suppose holy grail, for want of a better term, of interview or conversation.
Well, I'm absolutely chuffed to be able to make that a reality. I mean, yeah, I do a sideline in Holy Grail hunting.
And it's strange, we talked about a second ago, the idea of you've tried multiple times to kind of disappear from the world and just be let be, and the industry and things haven't let you do that. I suppose right now where you're in the south of France right now, yeah?
I'm in the south of France right now, but I'm about to get on an aeroplane to Heathrow in order to fly into Essex and take charge of Woozle's Circus and Toon Carnival, which is a big part of Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 3, currently shooting in Essex and shooting in locations very close to the real-life 100 Acre Wood, which is down towards Ashdown, East Grinstead way.
How did that come about? How did you, because I feel like, and not in a bad way, but your name and then this new kind of Winnie the Pooh universe that started and it's kind of taken the horror world by storm. How did those two things collide?
Well, pretty random, like most things in this universe. But it actually happened because I offered Scott, the director of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 3, and also the star of Blood and Honey 2, Christopher Robin. I saw Blood and Honey 2, and I offered Scott a part in Steel Donkeys, the low-budget movie that I'm putting together in Middle England. And as a result, Scott got to read the Steel Donkeys script. And discovered, of course, that it was magnificent, and became very excited and instantly wanted me to write the script to his next movie. So that was it. Just came about as a result of him actually reading the material and seeing what was going on, and then suddenly figuring, shit, maybe we can apply this to the Twisted Childhood universe. And as such, I'm actually a huge fan of fairy tales and English literature. I've got a massive collection of books of fairy tales, childhood books, and I'm deeply familiar with the materials. So some part of me also wanted to stand up for the bear and wade into the argument. It mutated another layer too, I guess I should add, which is that the script landed well, and ITN were extremely surprised and happy with the material. I think it's one of the better things I've written, and as a result, in an insane move, they turned around and offered me the part of the lead bad guy. So I actually ended up getting cast into the movie, which is a real Dr. Moreau sort of turn of events. It's one of those things. It's what happens when sorcery goes sideways. When manifestation goes a bit wrong, you try and concentrate on doing one thing, and then before you know it, you're actually trapped inside the fictional universe, which has happened to me before, and I guess it's happening again. So I'm just going to run with it this time and enjoy the process of being a woozle.
Is that an instant yes for you when they mention about casting you in the movie as well as writing the movie? Is that just like, do you just let things happen, or do you have to think about that and go, maybe this is not for me, this wasn't the intention, or you just go with the experience?
Well, I figured it was a fire horse year. It's a leap year in the Chinese zodiac. I'd be a maniac to turn down the opportunity of being the owner impresario of a completely fictional fairy tale circus. It's a sort of thing that will probably not happen again, that I'm going to enjoy the opportunity of being Balthazar. I'm going to be Balthazar in method for the entire way. So looking forward to the full makeover.
You know, if we look at your actual personal life, like you have done some crazy things, been in some crazy locations, probably seen, like I've heard you tell multiple different stories about being in different parts of the world and some of the stuff you've seen. Do you think that that has a lot to do with, I guess, the opportunities you've put yourself in for, and the things that have been able to happen in your life? The fact that you're, I guess, open to everything and all experiences?
Yeah, I think that was possibly a residue of studying anthropology at the very beginning, which teaches you to basically not be cognocentric or ethnocentric, but to try to just relax and go with the flow and accept the food that they offer you, and basically go along with whatever ritualistic series of events one's participating in. And as a result, I've made some very terrifying friends over the years, which has helped because I'm pretty non-judgmental and open to new experiences. So I've had no problems in terms of making friends who were, say, Afghan jihadis or Haitian voodoo people, because I was genuinely curious as to what made them tick, and adopted a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, non-judgmental approach. But beyond that, I think I blame it also on reading a lot of pulp magazines and pulp literature when I was young, and being a huge fan of H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard, the American pulp writers who created so much of the great material I read, and then also realizing what miserable, shitty lives they had. Realizing that Lovecraft never really left Providence, Rhode Island, and poor old Robert E. Howard was pretty much trapped in Cross Plains, Texas all of his life, while writing about Afghanistan and Hyperborea and the far corners of the earth. So I resolved at an early age not to do that, not to stay in my hometown, just write about it, but to actually attempt to go to the places that they were talking about, which it has so far been pretty worthwhile. I would advise folk to do the same. That there are a great many extremely strange and wild places on this earth that will change you if you visit them. So that motivated me.
I can only imagine, because from listening to you over the years, and some of the projects you've been involved in and things like that, I can, I guess, secondhand, I can see how that would potentially change you as a person, your views on things. And you mentioned you would suggest for others to do that. Is it something that can be done? Do you have to kind of take a nomadic approach, or is it something that can be done where, lots of people travel, but I feel like it's very surface level. Someone travels somewhere, they do like the one or two touristy things, and then they fly back home, and it's like, oh yeah, I've been to Egypt, I've been to whatever. And it's like, have you really?
Well, I'm not sure I have either, but I tend to invent quests for myself. It's generally good to go somewhere when you've got a reason and a compelling need to get to a certain place. So I do tend to invent quests. The Holy Grail's been a good one for a bunch of years, but Shambhala and this lost initiatory center somewhere in the Karakorums or the Hindu Kush has also been drawing me. And Haiti, with the voodoo, I was just super lucky to be posted into that situation. It was again a random thing where the BBC hired me to basically be their man in Port-au-Prince, and do originally a bunch of shows. The Benedict Allen show, Last of the Medicine Men, but then I was just by luck ended up basically being working for the BBC and having BBC press accreditation and being based in Port-au-Prince when the Americans decided to regime change the place and bring down Aristide and insert a new government. So I have no idea why the BBC even sent me to Haiti, in that I don't speak Creole and had no knowledge of the culture, but I guess they assumed because I was coming out of South Africa and had spent time in Africa that maybe I'd be an appropriate person to send to Haiti. But it does help to have a plan, to have something that you're chasing after, a dream or a bizarre destination.
You mentioned Shambhala and things like that, and I heard you mention it before and having dreams about locations. Obviously, where you're at right now has become like a pretty focal point, and it's been tied to your journey, I guess, and a lot of the work you've done and research and things like that. Is there potential, or do you have any, like, would you be able to right now walk away from there and up sticks and go somewhere else?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think I want to, from the point of view that where I am right now is in the heartland of what used to be Occitania. It's now part of the south of France, and it's basically the foothills and into the French Pyrenees. And this was a totally separate country back in the 12th and 13th century, where the original population had basically been genocidally exterminated and suppressed for the last 7 centuries. And it's got a bunch of things going for it. The hidden history being part of it, but it's also unfortunately still an active hidden history. So there's forever a war and and always some kind of siege or standoff going on in Montsegur. It seems to somehow polarize things so that the entire the village and the castle seems to exist in a constant state of apocalyptic. It's like I always joke with folk, it's a bit like Gondor, because there's always this this ultimate final struggle between the forces of good and evil going on the whole time, which does get tiring, and it just seems to come with the territory. But beyond that, it's a few degrees warmer than England. Generally, the property and cost of living is cheaper. There's still a bit more freedom in the air. It's still possible to lead a reasonably free life and be off the grid and out of the way of CCTV. And even if the Gulf Stream breaks down over the course of the next 10 years, I think just where we are is in kind of a sweet spot, from the point of view that southern Spain's already getting very, very dry and being hit by wildfires and stuff. Further north we're to expect darkening winters and potentially more pack ice. I think for the time being, I'm going to try to stay close to the mountain and dig in as deep as I can.
For a lot of people listening, there'll be the younger audience obviously probably will have no reference point at all, but even maybe some of the older audience, there's probably a degree of struggle there in understanding, but how can you walk away from like all the conveniences? There isn't a McDonald's on every corner, and there isn't there's probably a degree of like, I don't know if it's a lack of understanding. People can't understand how somebody can, when you make the decision to move to that area, it seems like quite an undertaking, for example, if that makes sense. I feel like if I was to say that right now, it would seem nearly like an impossible task to get to where you are and live.
Yeah, I guess most people think I'm crazy, but it's also, which is fine, because that way around, they don't have to deal with it. But I just wanted to get out before becoming too habituated to the 21st century. And it it becomes very habit forming and extremely seductive. And as it is, I'm still basically 100% reliant on Wi-Fi in order to just live and survive. The powers that be in this world like it that way. They're trying to push us towards a cashless universe where we all have to basically be online and be able to receive SMS and and carry smartphones just in order to basically trade and to feed ourselves and our animals. So it's definitely becoming trickier to opt out of the technosphere in the 21st century. But I think it needs to be treated with caution and with a long spoon. First of all, because the parameters keep changing. They keep sort of moving the rule book around in terms of whether, like, suddenly all your data is copyrighted to someone that you didn't know was owning the copyright, or one thing or another. It's or they can basically disappear your bank account, and there's all kinds of weird fallout from it. So I think it's dangerous to rely on it. I've always mistrusted every government, which is that comes from growing up in white South Africa and realizing that the government was insane and corrupt and on the verge of collapse. So I kind of accepted that early in life and continue to fear the folk who run the world and try to operate around the edges of it.
It's funny because at one time I would have thought, at least, in maybe 90s Ireland, people would have looked at that and went, no, of course they have our best interests at heart. And like, I feel like now, I was going to say year on year, but it's like, I would say week on week now, I think more people are waking up to the fact that, oh, holy shit, this is all actual reality. This isn't some like thing that I saw in a movie or a TV show. 90% of this stuff is actually happening around us and we don't even realize that it's happening. So I think it's become the dream to probably live like you live now. And a lot of people want to escape that reality, if that's what it's been designed for us to think it is. You mentioned, this digital world and having to be kind of ingrained in it, and that's the way they want things. You've had your own issues, and I don't want to get too much into like the negative aspect of anything, but you've had issues with, being hacked and different things like that.
And I've had issues of being hacked, of folk trying to cancel me with every imaginable thing. And I should also say that at this point in my career, I've yet to see the back end on anything I've ever made. I mean, like all of the money is habitually stolen from every project that I've ever worked on. Pretty much all of the copyright and the IP is always stolen by always by people you've never even met, which is creepy. It takes forever to find out who actually owns your work, who's actually profiting from it. And I have to say, I don't even know. It goes so far down and so far back that trying to figure out who's responsible is tricky. I also note that almost everything that it says online in any way is usually wrong, completely wrong. Usually, like even simple things, like the budgets of the films and how much they're supposed to have made, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, etc. It's not true. I don't know where those figures come from and how they make it up, but they do make it up, which is I find very freaky. I mean, I turned in Color Out of Space for effectively 3.5 million USD for under 4 million. I know Nick took 1 million off the top for his participation in the movie, so effectively I can account for roughly 5 million of the Color Out of Space budget. So that's listed as being around 7.5 or 8 on IMDb. I don't know where the other 3 million came from. None of the box office figures make the blindest bit of sense either. And I sure wish they did. I wish those basic things were right. And almost everything is a wee bit off, a little skewed. I'm habitually credited for projects I've never made. I'm also worked on a bunch of things that don't seem to exist online. So
it's a strange one. I've heard this before, and when you mentioned box office numbers being skewed, as in skewed higher than they are in reality, why do you think that is? What's the purpose of that? Is that to just I don't know, draw the audience and thinking it's this big thing and get people to rush out and see it, or why would they do that?
I don't know. It would feel like there's probably some kind of active scam going on in there. I mean, it's probably there's got to be a 2-3 million missing. That's kind of been the case on almost every project I've worked on. Generally, they give you the smallest amount of money they can possibly give you to shoot the thing. And I'm always happy with that, and I'm happy to work with whatever money is available to me, and I will go ahead and shoot the thing, and I will deliver it on budget and schedule, and not ask too many questions beyond that. But given the different folk that I've worked with, for instance, Harvey and Bob Weinstein on hardware, some of the different forces involved, I've got to say that I've never been able to trust the figures or the what's actually what the real parameters of the deal are. I suspect that the different producers and people have been probably trousering millions off me over the years. I don't doubt that I've made people rich. I've made some funny people rich as well. Like the Aboriginal community in far north Queensland, who profited tremendously out of the island of Dr. Moreau, where we changed the landscape in far north Queensland by spending between 45 million and 75 million of Time Warner's money. And just the fact that I'm unclear about the size of the spend shows what a miasma Moreau was in terms of the huge amount of money sloshing around on that project. And very little of which ended up coming my way, but all of it went somewhere.
You mentioned that you've kind of at different points, I guess, in your career, it seems like there's somebody, something, people, it seems like out to get you nearly, which is quite freaky and creepy to me. Like, if I look at your life's work, it seems like multiple times there's been attempts to kind of I don't know, assassinate your character or like remove you from the conversation. Do you have any idea on like why that is? My personal opinion from the outside, I thought it was because you weren't afraid to speak up, that you kind of know who you are and what you want, and that was an issue for people.
Yeah, I think that's probably the first part of it, and that it also comes out of the fact that so many of these different characters behave as if you have to stay loyal to them, and only say nice things and talk about what a wonderful experience it was, while simultaneously ripping you off. And that never made sense to me. It's like why on earth should I say sweet things about Harvey when he's done all this to us? And then, of course, if you're not on form and not on book, then it comes back at you. I mean, I remember right back in the summer of 1990, being on a radio show in New York, and it was like live radio. It was promoting hardware. The radio host asked me about how was it working with Miramax. Joanne Seller, the producer of hardware, was sitting next to me in the recording booth, just grabbed my hand and bit it. And she bit my hand so hard it drew blood. But I went, oh, it was great.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, no, she knew I was about to open my mouth and say the wrong thing, so she bit my hand. She couldn't. She couldn't
Wow.
say it because we're live on air.
Okay, yeah. So that makes it now. I'm like, so okay, so that's definitely been an issue then. That it's like they want you to say what they want you to say when you want to when they want you to say it. And
Yeah, and that's definitely part of it. And I think I've stepped on a lot of religious toes without meaning to. And that's also been a part of it. And that and I kind of stand on an awkward cultural fault line at the moment for a bunch of folk, because I think of it as the two C's, because I've got Cthulhu in my life. I got Cthulhu, thanks to moving into Lovecraft country with Color Out of Space, building ties with Providence, Rhode Island. So and coming out as a Lovecraft supporter. So and Color drew a lot of attention. Got a lot of press. So and I rabbited on a lot about the old ones and the Necronomicon and stuff, and that drew some attention. And then the other C are the Cathars, of course, the medieval heretics in the south of France, who were exterminated in the 13th century. But unfortunately, it's still an issue. And I think that there's powerful vested interests in conservative Christianity who really don't want people talking about that. Like after 7 centuries of Inquisition persecution, making certain that anyone who knew anything about it was burned at the stake, silenced, that the books and manuscripts were destroyed. I was naive to think that in the 21st century one could just start rabbiting on about it and putting that kind of stuff on the net without pissing off people, pissing off elements of, I would suspect, conservative Christianity, certainly conservative Catholicism, which is a force in Europe. That's I mean, it's to be noted that the Holy Roman Church has yet to apologize for the crimes of the Inquisition, let alone have a Truth and Justice Commission that would actually open up the issue of the thousands or hundreds of thousands of people who were tortured and killed over the passage of the last 7 centuries. And obviously they would much rather that did not happen. They would much rather it just quietly faded into the background. No one ever spoke about it again. But there's a bunch of different idiot loudmouths like myself who keep raging on about it in the hope that eventually the issue would be addressed. And somehow being between Cthulhu and the Cathars kind of made me a target.
it's just wild to me that I think consistently groups or different groups of people would go to those lengths to try and assassinate somebody's character and things like that. To kind of touch on you mentioned Color Out of Space, and it was so, I remember at the time, for the audience it was like Richard's back. It was like this, like every Reddit, there was threads on Reddit, it was like every blog post, every website, everyone was picking this up, and it was this kind of huge buzz again. And I'm sure you probably felt that at the time, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's a terrifying thing because there's as you're well aware, there's a flip side. I mean, when people are basically telling you that you're great and that you're a genius, and I recall a defrocked nun kneeling in front of me in Oldenburg, Germany, saying, "You are like Christ." There's a terrifying flip side to that, because those very same people can flip around and come back at you with a psychotic hatred if you somehow fail to be whatever it is that they're imprinting onto you. So the fame is a scary thing at best. And I mean, particularly in my line of work, I mean, all of the troubles I had after Color Out of Space, frankly, were at least in part coming from witches and coming from coming mostly from behind it all, mostly white men, which is creepy. And usually white men who spend too much time at the computer and who are really into the occult and into black magic. So many of my troubles can be sourced back to the OTO, to a particular tranche of the OTO, which is the initiatory organization associated with Aleister Crowley, who's become very, very popular in the present day for some reason. And generally there's an awful lot of money sloshing around in that again. And say it's a powerful structure. And somewhere along the line, thanks to my involvement with Lovecraft and the Necronomicon, I came into conflict with a tranche of these guys, which I would identify with something called the Typhonic Order and the Schlangenkraft Recension, which is effectively a schism, an offshoot from the OTO. And it's unfortunate. But it also plays nicely into the hands of conservative Christianity, who have also got their own big issues with the material. Lovecraft was also attacked and assassinated online in a way that was utterly despicable, which started with Jeff Vandermeer essentially outing him as a racist at the World Fantasy Awards. So much bullshit is believed about Lovecraft that also needs to be seriously cleared up at some point. And certainly Lovecraft held difficult and awkward views when he was younger, but at the same time, when they say that his stories are packed with the N-word, I would argue that people should take a close look at just how the N-word is actually utilized in those stories, and particularly in the last Lovecraft story, Through the Gates of the Silver Key, which I don't think gets enough press. The Silver Key and Through the Gates of the Silver Key aren't read enough. And not wanting to blather on too long about it, but in Through the Gates of the Silver Key, for instance, there's a situation happening where Randolph Carter, the lead character, has disappeared into another dimension. They're trying to have him declared legally dead and take it and foreclose on his assets on his estate. And there's an evil lawyer character who is trying to have him declared legally dead and take his money. There's a Swami character who's a turbaned Swami who is arguing with the lawyer, saying, no, you don't understand. Carter is not dead. He is transcended into another realm. Partway through, I'm fed up with the Swami. The lawyer rounds on him and says to him, you stay out of this, you damned nigger. A moment later, the Swami's mask comes off and he turns out to be Zakalba, the alien sorcerer, and he eats the lawyer's brain or his soul or something. It seems to me pretty obvious that Lovecraft's using the N-word because he wants us to hate the lawyer to justify the fact that he's about to have his brain eaten by Zakalba, the alien sorcerer. The lawyer's also greedy and unscrupulous and is clearly in the story in order to have his brain eaten. So, which I think portrays some aspect of the fact that Lovecraft does have a social conscience and does not identify as a racist. I think certainly by the time he wrote that story in the latter years of his life, and he died really young in his 40s, he was already mellowing and far away from the views he had as a teenager, which he expressed only to his aunts who were in Florida, who were out and out racists. And it's to go after people for because of that, who are simply selling Cthulhu merch or retelling these stories and trying to pretend that they are racists or Nazis just seems obscene. under the current circumstances. I mean, the Lovecraft community are the nicest, sweetest people I know.
It's a very strange thing to me as well that nowadays it seems to be you can kind of start these witch hunts and things like that, for want of a better term. And then when the dust settles, there's no recourse to roll back anything that's been said, any unfounded claims. It's kind of just been put out there, it's stamped out there, and the victims, for want of a better word, have no recourse to kind of backtrack anything that's been said wrongly, which is very, very bizarre to me.
It's very strange, yeah, but it's, I guess, ever the way. And if they don't get you while you're alive, they will generally get you after you're dead when you can't defend yourself. I mean, there's an argument to be made that Edgar Allan Poe, wasn't a chronic alcoholic. That this was a slander created by Rufus Griswold after he died. But the notion that Edgar is a raving alcoholic in a series, belting out his work for a series of fugue states, in a deranged, drug and alcohol fueled frenzy, I think is untrue. I think it's something. It was Rufus Griswold who basically created this portrait of Edgar shortly after he died, because Griswold totally hated him and wanted revenge for a whole bunch of different reasons. There's a growing school of thought that suggests that Edgar might have died of rabies, that the brain lesions and the different symptoms put down to chronic alcoholism may have actually been caused by the untreated bite of a rabid dog. He was found semi-conscious in the street in Baltimore after the elections and taken into a house and died in a semi-comatose state about 24 hours later. And it's quite possible the guy might have been bitten by a rabid dog and simply went into coma and died. And then oh my God, he was an alcoholic wreck, and we've kind of accepted that version of Poe. So it's tricky when after you're dead you can't defend yourself, and there's no real comeback to say, hey, I didn't actually honestly didn't have a drink, I was mugged, it wasn't my fault. Or
yeah, that's a strange one, and it seems to happen time and time again with these stories, and I see it a lot now, with people. Allegations come out, things are said, this online assassination attempts, and then the dust settles, and it's kind of, there's like I suppose a soft launch of, oh yeah, well maybe 99% of that stuff was unfounded, but let's not talk about that, and there's no repercussion, which is kind of it's kind of creepy to me that that's the world we live in now. To touch on Color Out of Space and I suppose encapsulate everything we've just talked about, and I don't really want to give this much notice or time, but the documentary Shadowland, that whole experience, I've seen varying accounts online about that whole thing. Do you have a stance on that, or how do you feel about that whole thing now that it seemed to kind of, like, well, I feel like it's kind of died down and went away a little bit?
Well, utterly obscene and insane. I hope that at some point the truth will out. But I think the longer the time goes by on that little thing, the worse it's going to look. Which because there's so much unscrupulous behavior, which is clearly on camera. And here I'm thinking about the scene where the priestess lady Anaya Sophia is clearly badgered by someone standing off camera to basically get on book and say what they wanted to say. If that's not a like an in-your-face example of literally a hand coming into frame and course correcting her as to what she's meant to say, the usage of getting Anaya to talk about her ex-husband and then to use all that material overlaid over shots of myself again is unethical to the point of insane. Then beyond that, I don't think anyone's really picked up on the notion that it's a film shot by a dead man. Petu Hakonen died a bunch of years ago. He was killed in a bike accident, the guy who shot that thing originally. He died the same week that Urani died. It was a bad week. Many years ago. Petu did not make that film. His footage was repurposed in a very cynical way. And it was shot for one reason, and then repurposed as an attack. It's also strange, and I think clear in Shadowland, that they keep directing the attack towards back towards Montsegur and towards the zone, which is very, very odd. It's like, why do they have to force Anaya to say that I didn't see the white lady? He never saw the white lady. How would she know? She wasn't there. Why is that even important? Why should it matter whether I saw the white lady or not? It's got nada to do with anything, but it keeps pushing that way. It's like which to me feels like there's almost an ideological bent to it. Also insane is that they spent apparently close to €500,000 to do that. All those people were paid, which were paid large sums of money. Where did that come from? Why did anyone think it was worth basically pissing away €500,000 in order to try and frame me for crimes I have not committed? Which is nor is there any evidence to that effect within the film. Just people being badgered into basically towing the line. As regards JC, the young white Rasta sorcerer guy, who's and there claims that there's multiple people who know that I'm a violent man. I'm really glad that I took down JC. I would do it again in a flash. JC's about 35 years old. He's a good deal younger than me, it's just one of those things. I did in fact strike JC and knock him down. He's a man. Let's say I think completely permissible. I hit him because he had his hand at my throat. When that happens, I have some martial arts, so that's completely the case. JC was paid, and then there were 2 attacks on my house. And I think both attacks on my house, which were led by JC, our little junior league Charlie Manson, who was effectively probably, I imagine he trousered around 10 grand to do it, were attempts to try to create a situation where they could charge me of something. They so badly wanted me to commit a crime or to have a charge. So such circumstances were constantly created to try to create a drama, so they could have something to actually show, which again is unethical to the point of insanity. And it tilted way over into full madness. Then when you the timing of it was insane too. All of it was timed for one day. It was all timed for March 16th, 2021. On March 16th, 2021, there were no less than 2 camera crews shooting me from opposite directions. Everyone was in place and ready. There were 2 camera crews on the field at the stake on March 16th. Why? Because it was exactly 7 centuries after the death of the last Cathar Perfecti, Wilhelm Bellibast, in 1321, and exactly 777 years since the fall of the castle. And they knew, and they'd timed it for that date in that moment. So what kind of people would do that? Would actually do something so insane and so obscure as to make those calculations, to even know that that was the moment to do it. And they must have planned it for months in advance in order to be ready on the to be up and shooting, to have the camera crews there, to have paid people to have done the whole thing. It must have been planned to go off like a firework on that day. But I do question the whole endeavor. And there's also another crazy layer to it. Apart from the 777 direct references to the extermination of the heretics, and putting down whatever it is they think Mopsicle represents. There's a lot of time given in Shadowland to attacking the zone as well, in the basic, the whole basic premise of this place. I lost my train of thought a little there.
Because I was gonna cut in and ask, from when you first, get contact, I don't know if they reach out to you or whatever, and you speak to them, because I know this was over a long period of time from what I gather. But could you feel the switch in? Because I've seen it once a long time back. I don't really care to see it again, but I distinctly remember this like really jarring switch in the material where I was like, this is very weird. It feels like you went there with one intention and now we've just pivoted to something completely different. And it's a very strange...
The guy who started shooting it, I think, had good intentions. I think Pertu was making a straight up supernatural documentary about the Pagan place. Moreover, Pertu shot a lot of material that disappeared. There's an insane amount of missing material, of whole characters and people who are omitted, who were originally central and important to the whole thing. And their interviews, I guess, are lost or just destroyed, because before he died, Pertu Hakonen was, I believe, the last man to interview the Anglo-Irish Grail historian Tim Wallace-Murphy. No sign of the Tim Wallace-Murphy interview. Urani's interview is cut to like one sentence or something. There's no, all of that material's effectively lost. But a big part of what Pertu was documenting was a totally different story, which is completely lost. It was about the magical war that was going on at that point in time, which was a different magical war. It was a battle between Bemi and Urani. And this magical battle between Bemi and Urani had been going on for about 10 years. It was super rococo, with all kinds of insane accusations and counter-accusations. Bemi claimed that Urani claimed Bemi had used, for instance, biological warfare against the Rainbow Gathering by unleashing a virus that he'd stolen from a lab in Marseille. There were some absolutely insane details of the thing which were like, what? But Bemi's missing completely from the movie, as is the whole battle between Bemi and Urani. That his interviews were certainly shot, and as far as I know, Pertu's the only person to have ever interviewed Bemi. Bemi was the rival geomancer who was such an obscure figure that I thought he was actually a splinter personality of Urani initially. When Urani was first telling me about him, I thought, okay, this is Urani's schizophrenia. There can't possibly be another one with a similar name who's competing with him and is doing kind of the same stuff. But it turned out that, Bemi was real and not a hallucination, and a real person. And Pertu tracked him down and interviewed him. But the interview will probably now... is probably now lost, or will certainly never be seen.
It's very strange as well in the kind of like post-release or whatever. I don't know what way they planned for it all to go, but I couldn't help but feel like I think it's kind of died now. That whole documentary seems to have kind of gone away a bit, and it's not really available anywhere. And I couldn't help but feel like before that happened, they were really trying to milk this so-called dramatic situation and kind of use all those buzzwords, I guess, modern day buzzwords about allegations and violence and all this kind of crap. And I don't know if you feel like this, but to me, it seemed like the whole thing just kind of backfired and just went away.
Well, they didn't have a crime. No, they
Yeah.
they misstructured the attack, which is I mean, I don't want to talk about this too much, but as you broach the goddamn subject, but they misstructured the attack because what they wanted to do more than anything else, and what I think had gone on in their minds, is they really wanted to burn me at the stake on March 16th, 2021. And it felt like I felt like Oliver Reed in The Devils. I felt like Urban Grandier from Loudun. It was a terrifying situation, and it was all pointing to that one day. It was all coming on March 16th, and they were hoping that they would burn me at the stake of public opinion, and that I would burn, but I didn't. And then they came with then there was supposed to be crimes, allegations, and then there needed to be charges, and then there needed to actually be a crime, but they didn't have it. And as a result, the further I went away from March 16th, which is now 5 years ago, now 2026, 5 years have passed since that point, meant that I was slowly walking away from the stake. It was misstructured. The stake's supposed to come at the end, guys. You're meant to be gradually dragged to the stake. That's how it runs. Starting with burning the guy at the stake is the wrong order. You're meant to start with whispers and allegations, and then you bring in the witch hunter, and then the witch hunter tries to make actual charges. Then they bring it to court, and then they burn you at the stake once they convict you. And it's a horrific process, and it goes on for years, and they drag you slowly to your fucking doom, and then eventually you're burned alive in public, and everyone cheers. But they tried to start it with the burning at the stake. They wanted boom, the whole thing up front, which I think, like I say, was misstructured. In their eagerness, they got it slightly the wrong way around. It was hell to live through. I mean, the initial 48 hours was like the worst time of my life, and beyond insane. I caught COVID that same day. I was actually infected with COVID by the Shadowland camera crew, who were carrying a form of rare Scandinavian big COVID, which infected all of us in this field of the stake. And as a result, we were immediately quarantined by the French sanitation department, which was insane. And all of us were instantly quarantined, everyone on the field of the stake, which so that 48 hours was beyond mad and insane. I actually thought I was in Dark City or the Matrix or something. I at one point I sat down with I talked to two police psychiatrists, one American, and I talked to a very nice American officer who had spent something like 40 years involved with domestic violence in Chicago. And I also sat down and talked to obviously a French police psychiatrist. And the first police psychiatrist, the French one, got it so wrong. It was amazing. I mean, I tried to explain the whole situation, and then but I was alerted by the translator until after a few months later, because the French police psychiatrist had heard my story, and they'd thought, okay, I'm a fantasist who's leading a drab life, and who's created a very, very vivid dream life in which I imagine that I'm a Hollywood filmmaker who has worked with celebrities like Marlon Brando and Nicolas Cage, and that I'm now being pursued by witches who are trying to wipe me out. And he thought the whole thing was everything was was a hallucination, which is he hadn't used Google. He was too much of a hurry.
Is that you've been through a lot in your life. Like I said, you've been in a lot of crazy places and probably seen some very crazy things, been in violent situations, in some of the locations you've been in and some of the work you've done. Is there anything that scares you? Like I don't know, from the outside looking in, I feel like that you don't really, you're not a fearful person. I know some of the stuff you speak about, some of the experiences you've had, and things like that to do with, even, you know, you mentioned the word supernatural and things. I feel like I get a chill down my spine, and a kind of, I don't know if I call it fear, but there's a, do you get that with anything?
Oh yeah, I'm a very frightened guy. I mean,
Really?
oh yeah, I've been, but in different ways. I mean, first, let me try and address this as cogently as I can. Um, First of all, the supernatural is the last thing you need to be afraid of. It's like I've never been harmed by a ghost, and I don't know anyone who has been. But or a supernatural force. I mean, there's far more dangerous things in the world than the supernatural. As such, I find it a huge comfort. I find that the notion that there's magic and things far beyond my ability to understand in this world keeps me alive, and I find reassuring. It's not the thing that scares me. I mean, people scare me. Um, um, yeah, the things that we can do and what we're doing in this world scares me. Way more than ghosts scare me. So ghosts, goblins, and fairies are not high on my list of scary things. Like there's a lot of other stuff in this world which is, yeah, super frightening. And, I've always been scared of the future, which I think hardware reflects. I was troubled by bad dreams about the lousy future that I was probably going to be living in from when I was very young. And with supernatural stuff, how it tends to be, Lovecraft's right. The fear of the unknown is the biggest fear. And just not knowing what something is terrifying potentially. I've seen adults behave very strangely when very small, impossible things happen. Like if a piece of furniture moves by itself, or a bottle moves on the table for no reason. It's amazing how adults will back away and will be almost paralyzed with fear by something which is effectively very harmless. It's like it's not. There's nothing threatening about it. It's just the sheer fact that it's impossible, or it is terrifying to people. It's unreasonable, and they often react by wanting to get away as fast as possible. Then quite frequently by refusing to ever speak about it or acknowledge that it happened, by like trying to edit that moment out and not really remember the little bit of the experience that really didn't make sense, and go into some kind of denial over it. And I think it's a similar thing to if you're swimming in the ocean and you suddenly feel something touch your leg and you don't know what it is. The initial reaction is panic terror.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
because you automatically assume it's going to be a shark or some kind of dangerous thing. Then the moment it turns out to just be seaweed or one of one's friends or something else, the experience changes dramatically. The supernatural is a bit like that. While it's unknown and you don't know what it is, but you know it's something. You know something moved, but you don't know what moved. It's or how it moved. It's potentially extremely terrifying. But the flip side of it is that if you then realize it's actually not dangerous, possibly benign, or possibly even on one side, the nature of the experience changes quite a lot. I was initially terrified of Montsegur, the castle, where I now pretty much live full time. But my initial reaction for the first 17 years or so was one of fear. I was terrified the very first time that I thought that something was happening which I couldn't rationalize or explain. It took a while to grow on me. Now I'm very, very happy though.
It's funny because I'm terrified by I actually don't even know what about the idea of Montsegur. I don't know what it is that terrifies me, but I'm equal parts absolutely fascinated where I feel like I can't, it's like I can't stop thinking about it. That makes sense. But it also, there's a degree of fear there. And I think it might be the fear of the unknown. It's like I obviously can't perceive because I have not been there. I do not know. I don't know if that adds to the fact.
Yeah,
Of why.
Montsegur has got a terrifying history as well, because they killed all those people there in 1244. They dragged the people down from the castle and burned them essentially. So it does have the dark smoke of the of 1244, and being the scene of the largest mass burning of heretics, / witches in European history. So to some extent, there is that vibe of an ancient crime or a massacre that hangs over it. You do feel that strongly in the village. There's still an oppressive sense of the proximity of the past. Hangs over the place. The crimes of the Inquisition seem very recent, and people seem still afraid. So an element of fear abounds. I should mention that there's not a single window in the village, as far as I can tell, which even faces towards the castle. When they built the village, the entire village looks away from
Wow, really?
from the castle and the mountain, which is a goofy detail. In the many nights of the hundreds, or probably by now even thousands of nights that I've spent on top of the mountain, I've very seldom seen anyone else, or almost never anyone from the village, which has always surprised me. It always amazes me that folk can live right next to the place and still be too scared to effectively go up and see what happens at night.
That's even you telling that story. Like I have goosebumps. Like it's giving me chills, as you say, about being on the mountain on your own at night, and then the thought that nobody else would do it is like, I don't know if that's just that thing that's built into us as humans, but just the thought of that even. But it equal parts intrigues me, where I'm like, I would love the opportunity to go somewhere like that and explore what it is, or what I versus what I think.
I think you should try it on. I mean, there was a point when I was a young teenager. I must have been about 13, I suppose, and we were camped out in the bottom of the Fish River Canyon in the Namib Desert, where Dust Devil is set. After being a white South African kid, and you're in darkest Africa, in the middle of the African night. There was a point when I think I was around 13, and I got up and left the campfire and took off my clothes and walked as far as I could along upriver for a few kilometers through the African night and back again. I walked into the night and embraced it. After that, I stopped being afraid of the African dark, and huddling next to the campfire, and I went out and gave it the chance to get me. Montsegur, I've got a similar relationship. I love climbing up and down the place in the dark. If I I know the path so well by now that it's kind of meditative. I don't think that flashlights and electric light are conducive to seeing otherworldly things. I think that in order to be perceptive to elemental spirits, to things which maybe are not existing in quite our same dimension. I feel like you need to be resting and relaxed, and everything that's loud and stimulating, bright lights, sound, etc., reduces our ability to perceive those things. It's not that they're not there. It's just that our senses aren't able to pick up on those things. And for some reason, electric light and just like amplified sound and things makes it harder to see.
Do you you mentioned dreams earlier? Do you have a lot of nightmares? I know that's probably a weird question, and do you keep any sort of journal? I know a lot of people are fascinated by where you come up with some of the concepts for your material, some of the scripts you've written, movies you've made, shorts. People are fascinated by where do these ideas come from. And I guess my question is, do you have nightmares? Do you keep any sort of journal? And do you think that all these experiences you've had are helping your inspiration for your art?
Yes, I hope so. I mean, if anything else, I mean, the last few years have been lousy, but I have to say the witches have given me back my edge, and that having people trying to kill you and stuff does sharpen one's abilities, and then stops one from resting on your ass. And the world is changing extremely fast. So with AI now upon us, it's the everything is very different. So I think I like to think it's improved my survival skills, and and sharpened me up a little. The monster gore thing has been complex because I didn't know it was a hot conflict when I got involved. Now I've been there so long, I feel like I've got an obligation to somehow see it through. And I don't really know what that conflict's about. But I know which side I'm on. I have no doubt about that. I know I'm on the side of the castle and whatever force resides within that mountain, and I'm 100% loyal. So I don't know what that immediately puts me in opposition to, but it's just the way it is. I accept it.
There's so much, like with your work. You mentioned Hardware earlier, Dust Devil, and only recently they've gotten these amazing, like really, really in depth releases with all these extras. It's all the stuff I think now from boutique labels that people really, really wanted. And especially with some of your work, which has been so rare and out of print. And it's like, I remember years ago, I had a friend who had a copy of Hardware, and it was like, he was like the guy. And it was like, no, only I can show you my copy of Hardware. You can't touch it. You can't, like, it's like that kind of thing. And now to see these coming out, and like they're getting these huge releases, and like for anybody who's into physical media or movies, like they're to have something like that come out for a favorite movie is incredible. Is it bittersweet? You mentioned, I think a lot of people would imagine you're a filmmaker and you've worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, and it's like, oh yeah, of course, he's probably living in the castle in the south of France, sitting on millions of dollars, and everything is great and perfect. And then when you hear that that's not always the reality, is it bittersweet to see how much the audience love all of your work, and all of these years later still fighting to have these releases come out?
I'm super glad that people like them. They landed, and it's not. I'm glad that Hardware and Dust Devil have survived into the modern era, because they'll never happen again. Dust Devil in particular, it's a 35mm movie shot with old-fashioned toys, with dolly and track and a crane and a helicopter. That'll never happen again. It's like rail trains and rail cars, for all people. Hardware too is totally analog. I mean, it's in a pre-digital era where everything is live, everything is real. And I don't think we'll ever see that again. So they're a record of a lost period. And yeah, putting a pin in the question you asked earlier that I never honestly answered. And I do have dreams, and yeah, these are the dreams, obviously. I mean, the first part of hardware, the nomad wandering through the desert and then digging up the metal head, is a dream I had when I was 13 years old. Pieces of Dust Devil are also from dreams, and I think my work succeeds best when that's purest, when they're most like dreams. I strive towards creating a dreamlike ambience. I think Dust Devil does that quite well. I don't really believe anymore in having dream sequences in movies. I wouldn't. I think Dust Devil has too many dream sequences, possibly. I don't think I would necessarily do that now, because I realize film is dream, and the whole movie should be the dream sequence, as opposed to a film having dream sequences within it. But and I'm still having, I still have nightmares. They still happen.
This sounds very strange, but I feel like in recent years, I don't remember a lot of my dreams or nightmares, and maybe I'm playing with fire with this, but I've often thought of the idea of like, okay, how could I induce some form of like nightmares or dreams because I used to journal a lot, and I don't know if I've heard you mention, I think it was on a previous show you talked about the Hasbro glow in the dark Ouija board, and like being able to mess with that and some of the stuff that gave you back. And it's always been a thing that I would love to dive into. And a lot of people around me tell me, no, don't mess with that stuff. Don't bring that into the house. Don't this, don't that. And it's just something else that fascinates me.
Yeah, try it on. I think I mean, that would be my advice in most of these things. I really, I'm not a fan of the people of the book. The Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews. I just think all three are misguided. We've had, as a result, centuries of people telling us to be shit scared of the supernatural, and that all these things are to do with the devil and the dangerous and evil and diabolic. But in fact, they're just weird, unexplained things that I don't think are automatically evil or need to be given a wide berth. I've had a lot of fun times with Ouija boards. I mean, admittedly, it's not maybe left my life in the best shape, but at the same time, I have had some very amusing and insanely colorful Ouija board related experiences.
There's another question, and I know a lot of the audience, and you've probably been asked this before, I would imagine. But people, like I mentioned, only recently hardware and Dust Devil and the likes are getting these releases where they're available to everybody in the best format they can be. I suppose people will always say, why haven't we gotten more? Why can't we see more of your visions, more of your ideas? I know a lot of people would probably assume that the whole fiasco with Moreau soured you or whatever, but is there I don't know, something you feel that stands out as to why we haven't seen you and someone, because I know you probably have a lot more in the bag that people haven't seen?
Well, I guess I've just not been terribly good at sorcery, and I've failed to manifest these things. I'm trying hard, and it keeps going a little sideways. So instead, I find myself now in charge of Woozle's Toon Carnival, and we're about 150 grand away from having what we need to make Steel Donkeys a reality and to finish the beast. We started shooting it last summer. It's been literally shooting like a genuine underground movie, but we're so close to getting the final little piece in place. So I'm still trying my damnedest, and working every angle to actually shoot, and shooting material. Did manage to start on Steel Donkeys and shoot some really good stuff. So I'm going to keep going. And it's always been tricky to get funding in the present era. Never more so. I'm also playing around with AI on my own, just because if no one will give me money to actually realize something, I can still play around with Nano Banana and realize sequences that I could not realize any other way, by dragging back different dead people and forcing them to act after their demises and doing all kinds of insane acts of, I guess, techno necromancy.
Is there, I don't know, I'd just say a process, but how do you decide what project is the correct project? I'm sure you're constantly working on ideas, scripts. There's probably things at different stages of development, but do you have a process for, okay, this is the thing that I want to try and really push and like get it over the line?
I do, but like I say, I'm kind of bad at actually manifesting these things, because the projects I really want to make almost never get made, and the projects that do get made always kind of force their way into my life and leave me with no choice. They're the things that kind of have to get made, or it's just happened because of an insane confluence of forces that comes together to compel it into existence. Which and generally I was. I think I can safely say that I was reluctant about everything that I've made. I was pretty much dragged into Hardware, Dust Devil, Island of Dr. Moreau, and Color out of Space, which.
And it's funny, you've obviously made it work, because the audience reception has always been extremely positively skewed.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for that I did get a chance to make them. Still wish I'd made Island of Dr. Moreau, because no matter how terrible and insane my Moreau might have been, it could never have been as boring as the Frankenheimer version. So I'm sorry that worked out the way it did. It's a better Moreau. It remains to be achieved by someone, and in the meantime, I can always do it on AI.
It's kind of funny to me, because I feel like the story of your lost version of Dr. Moreau has become more popular and more sought after than the actual movie. So the mystery around what went on and your intentions seem to be something that the audience are more interested in than they ever were the movie that they got.
Yeah, no, I think people sense there's something there, and and they know that there's something that's not quite articulated, and it's a dangerous thing, because people continue to be drawn to it. It's there's a force to it, and deep in the rainforest, Dr. Moreau's compound survives. It's the road that we cut to Mount Sorrow, where the thing was, has been eaten by the rainforest. But Graham Grace Walker's set was so soundly constructed that even the pyrotechnics on Frankenheimer's watch couldn't take it down. It's the Moreau's house survives and still stands in the rainforest. And cargo cult-wise, there's still a hope that maybe one day the master will return and the House of Pain will rise again. It continues to, like the castle of Montsegur, to exert a strange power. And Moreau has the power, I think, still to draw people in and possibly transform and destroy more lives further down the line. Also, Lost Soul is the David Gregory documentary. While we're on the subject of documentaries, it should be said that is only part of the picture. It's the version of the story that David got, and it's pretty close to true in all of its details, but it's still only a very partial shadow or a glimpse into what was the actual maelstrom of the island. And I'm very much hoping to finally get my confession published before I die, because I do have a novel-length first-hand confession, which is a sort of a survivor's tale where I've attempted to record everything that happened in minute detail, so that even on the days that I was on, so that what script pages were we trying to shoot, what lines were we trying to say, and where did that happen, and who said it. And when it comes to people like Mr. Brando and and the late Val Kilmer, if you can't put words into people's mouths, it has to be true. And there is in fact an extremely detailed account of the events on the island of Dr. Moreau, which I've waited and waited to see whether it would ever be legally possible to actually get released to the public. Because it was an insane thing, and I would defy, I think, anyone to live through that experience and stay sane. That was the one thing about the Moreau thing, is it did drive people crazy. Virtually everyone who got involved with it. There was one person on the crew who had actually been on the AIP version as well, who had been somehow part of the Burt Lancaster version and part of the Marlon Brando version. And he said it was exactly the same on both movies. Only on the AIP movie, everyone was drunk, and on the Frankenheimer movie, everyone was on drugs. But otherwise, the same, demented, escalating insanity was just, part of it.
Because I was going to ask that, because I've had Graham on the show, and we did talk about Moreau a bit, and he was like, he alluded to the fact that, that's like surface level, what you got in the documentary. And people were so fascinated by that. And he was like, I don't know if we'll ever get the actual version. And I suppose, so you have this all done, and it's just a case of, is there like, I don't know, a statute of limitations? Like, how does that work when?
I have no idea. I really don't know the legality of it. Now both Val and Brando are gone. It's tricky. I mean, maybe I'll try and make an expurgated version public. I thought about trying to call it a novel and like switching the letters of their names around, so it could be like Barlon Mando and Cal Wilmer, but it pretend it was a novel. Because it is on some level, it reads like Tropic Thunder or something. It's a very strange thing, but obviously it's only from my point of view as well. It's intensely subjective. It's all I could do was write what I saw and heard, and what I thought happened. So it's still a very subjective beast. I knew little about how Frankenheimer got involved or any of that, because I disappeared into the rainforest at a point, and had a totally different plot arc from what was going on back in Cairns, Queensland, or back in Los Angeles, and was not present at those meetings or party to those decisions, and was having different stuff, Moreau related stuff, happened to be at that time before being ingested back into the movie, ending up as a dog man trapped on the island and inside the thing that I'd created. And in that case, it was a hostile environment because it had not only gone out of my control. I'd created it, but it had gone out of my control, and was also hostile to me. If it knew I was there, it would get me. They would take my money away, arrest me. They'd probably have claimed that I was trying to attack the cast members, and if I'd come within 40 kilometers of Firuza Balk, they'd probably have said I was endangering the star or one thing or another, and tried to discredit me. So I had to be incognito. It was a dangerous situation, and but effectively a prisoner within the island of Dr. Moreau.
Which is crazy. It's like a weird kind of full circle thing. There's a lot of talk of filmmakers that have a project that sticks out to them, that it's like they feel like they have to get it out, they have to do it. I suppose in most recent times it would be Del Toro talking about his version or his take on Frankenstein, and that was his life's work, and he spent 50 years or whatever obsessing over this. And I don't want to say that Moreau is your version of that, but you're always associated with Moreau. And I don't know how many years have passed since where every time I see people, and it's always, I wish we got to see the version of the island of Dr. Moreau. I wish we got to see that version. Would you ever have an interest in trying to do that? And twofold, is there a project or a story or something that you feel like you need to get out of your system before you call it a day?
Plenty, but to keep it short, Island of Dr. Moreau sticks around. I never got a chance to process it out of my system. It still lives in me. It comes back in all kinds of ways. It can be quite a few years when you don't think about it, and it's like a dog comes and scratches at the door and drops a hand grenade in front of you. It comes and sniffs you out again. It's a funny old thing, and it lives in different ways. I might try and use AI on it in some way. I recently wrote a 20-minute version. I thought, could I compress the whole movie into 20 minutes and tell it from the point of view of Wagdy, the littlest of Dr. Moreau's dogs. I thought I could try and do it as a Wagdy cartoon under the title Wagdy's Busy Day, which would compress all of the events and retell them from the point of view of one of the dogmen. But it still haunts me, and I still would love to see someone do something with it. And I do think that now we have the technology to realize the beast people much more easily than we had back in the mid-90s. I think we're ahead of our time at that point, because we're still in the world where people were acting like I was insane because we wanted to have dogs with machine guns. And now we know that raccoons with big guns can be lovable characters, and it's not so fetched. So it seems to me that the Dr. Moreau's beast folk and their various issues do need to be revisited at some point, brought back into the world. There remains a great story that wants to be told.
Do you think there's a reason? Like, I don't know if I know of another career that the audience are so behind a filmmaker or a visionary where their work time and time again kind of ends up unrealized. So, like, for example, you spoke a lot about Hardware 2, and you said it was some of the best work you've done. And I know recently that's kind of gotten out to the world, but the fact that we never got to see that. Your version of Moreau is another thing. Is there a reason that, considering you have such a, I don't want to say a cult following, that's a kind of a weird term, but people are so diehard about you and about your work, that for
Yeah.
some reason, like the studios or whoever, like, won't get behind it?
Yeah, it beats me. I mean, the problem I had with particularly with Ground Zero, the Hardware 2 script, is it was so accurate. It upset me so much that as the years went by, it got more and more accurate. Like that was, if it had turned out to be completely wildly wrong about how the future was going to be, I would have let it go. But as we've continued to progress towards that screenplay, it continues to worry me that I'm sorry that we didn't get it made. I mean, yeah, the whole just kicking in with the droids exterminating the Mexicans arriving in the US, and in scene one, yeah, onwards through the way that the drones actually operate, I think it remains uncomfortable. It scares me. So yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to get that out. And it's just legally embargoed thanks to the right mess that Panasonic Miramax made of the rights back in 1990, and it's Hardware's rights are torn apart between about 3 different companies, and no one's ever been able to clear it up enough to be able to make a sequel, reboot it, or do anything with it. They won't even allow anyone to novelize it or make a comic book out of it. It's just been legally embargoed ever since about 1990. Dust Devil's pretty much in the same state of affairs, but there's less of a clamor to reboot or remake that one. And although I imagine if the current state of the world, the Walking Man or from Dust Devil's probably in the Middle East right now.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because it's like your work doesn't go away. It seems to get more on point and more topical as the years go on, and more popular, I would say, and being discovered. I suppose that's some of the good thing about the age of the internet now. It's like new and younger audiences get to discover. You wouldn't believe the amount of people. I don't know if I wouldn't imagine you've ever had the time or interest to do this, but if you look at some of the trailers for Dust Devil, for example, on YouTube, and look at the comments, and people who don't realize that the movie was released in the early 90s, and they're like, wow, I cannot believe, and they're discovering it for the first time and blown away by the material and how it was shot and how it was made. And I think that says a lot about you as a creative. And if we fast forward all this time, we talked about A Color Out of Space, and then you announced Dunwich Horror, and I want to say that was like 2024 was the last I remember where it was like big talk of it. As of right now, where does that stand? Because I feel like people are, once again, there's another thing that comes up where people are clamoring to find out what's.
Yeah, I think Dunwich is becoming the movie that I most want to make, which I most have to make. Again, I'm opposed in any number of ways in the quest to actually achieve it. At the moment, it's it's basically a little legally embargoed. I basically don't want to give up the ghost until I've realized not only Dunwich, but the 2-part Dunwich, which I intend. It needs to be. It needs to be 2 movies, and the plan is to shoot in Rhode Island, to bring Lovecraft home. Further from that, the plan is to shoot Miskatonic University at Brown University on College Hill on Lovecraft's home turf is the dream, because I believe that Arkham has never been realized properly. on screen and never been properly understood. And I think that Lovecraft's Arkham can still be found, not realized by CGI or AI, but actually found in the in present day New England. And I would like to create a film which evokes truly Lovecraft's world, which I don't think's happened. If for some reason, every time we make his work, we shoot it in Portugal, or we shoot it in San Diego, or southern Spain. But I would like to bring Lovecraft home. That's an important part of it, and to show that world while it can still be shown, because fortunately enough of that region has been preserved in a way that we can still see little pieces of Lovecraft's world. We can still sit on the same tomb in the graveyard and see the same tree growing out of the gravestones opposite in the 17th century graveyard and things. Some of those same places from the stories. That's like the beginning of the Unnameable. It exists in the present day, and I'd love to capture that on and to show it. And I would also love to tell the tale of Wilbur Whateley. The Whateley or Watley family. I love them dearly, and I've thought about all of them, the whole extended family a lot. And of course, I'd like to show Wilbur's first journey out of Dunwich into the big town, into Arkham, and to Miskatonic campus, and I'd like to show the Miskatonic U. And I'd like to take him, of course, into the library and to the dreaded Necronomicon, which we would like to open and get a good look at. And so this quest is going to remain probably my my main thing to do. And we've got sort of this dicey situation where we've got like 3 ball bearings in, and just always that one little missing piece. We need I think a stronger cast member to be able to make the equation work. We've got the support of the Rhode Island Film Commission and Tax Department, and we've got a production entity based in Providence in Rhode Island to put the thing together. We've got some cast, but still not quite enough to be able to do the beast. It's expensive because it happens in multiple locations. It happens in urban locations, and it's going to be a full union. It has to be a full union shoot, and it has to be basically done in a certain way in order to be able to shoot at Brown or shoot in Rhode Island to begin with. I've got to play by certain rules, so it can't be cheaper than a certain bottom line. And really raging to get back to Lovecraft. So in the meantime, the summer being the summer of the Firehorse year, I'm trying to get Steel Donkeys done, because I've been trying to get that done for a long time, and I'm very happy with what we've shot so far. And look, it's a genuine, I guess, some magical psychoactive underground movies so far, because it's been shot without anyone owning it. It's reached the point where in order to complete it, it's going to have to be owned by someone. But I want to get Donkeys done this summer. In the meantime, I am Balthazar von Woozle, the owner and impresario of Woozle's Toon Carnival.
I think people are happy so long as they see you and they see projects featuring you or solely because of you. I think people are excited about that every time there's an announcement. Have you always been, you seem like somebody who's deeply fascinated by many things and very well read and extremely, extremely knowledgeable on vast amount of topics. Like, I don't know if I have spoken to anybody over the last 6 to 8 years that is such a wealth of knowledge. Have you always had that kind of curiosity and, being so well read?
Yeah, I blame it on my mum. She got me reading very young. And I think she said my first book was waiting for me when she got back from the maternity ward. And I got through Bram Stoker's Dracula by the time I was 6.
Wow.
So she succeeded, and she got me into Lovecraft when I was very young as well. And I read Tolkien very young as well. Yeah, that definitely was a precocious reader, and that led to all kinds of other stuff. Robert E. Howard and Conan the Barbarian, and a love for Afghanistan, and just all kinds of things that were infections from early childhood reading.
Do you find that difficult sometimes? And I'm not saying that you would like to, but is it difficult sometimes to switch off that curious, creative mind? Like I find, and I would imagine it's on a way, 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 way lower level, that sometimes, I lay down at night and I'm like, I can't switch off my mind and just rest. Do you deal with that?
No, I'm pretty bad at dealing with that. In that I'm kind of always living so much on the edge that it's difficult to buy time to have creative thoughts. I'm usually in some fight or flight, panic, survival mode most of the time. In between the wars, I'm able to have crazy creative thoughts. But and I also find the creative thoughts are a very good way of not thinking about things. You can use those to shut out the rest of the world. It's better than counting sheep. I've had most of my best ideas while doing monotonous labor. Like hardware largely came into my head while I was washing dishes. And I did a lot of kitchen portering and working in restaurants and stuff, and endlessly washing dishes in West End kitchens. Was dreaming up. My mind was somewhere else. So those creative thoughts are quite restful sometimes. Yeah.
You're going to see tons of people now washing dishes trying to get that same thought process going. What does a normal day look like for you now? I think people are kind of fascinated by the idea of like, do you sit in a tower writing stories? Like what does your average day look like?
Well, like I said, it's mostly in fight and flight mode. But my average day, I usually wake up from some kind of nightmare, or I have a certain amount of PTSD. So I'm often like, oh, what the fuck, in the mornings, and then the first thing that happens is that the cats want to be fed. And the cats have a way of sorting it out, because by the time I fed the cats and I see the trees and the grandeur of the countryside and the light, I get my my nighttime issues in perspective, and gear up to face the day. But usually try not to get online until I'm absolutely ready to deal with whatever's going on. And dream wise, still have nightmares. Some of the nightmares are still still have the power to freak me out even in the present day. Since the whole Shadowland affair and the attack that was made on me, some of the nightmares have been insane. Really very, very, very challenging. And I'd love to. I hope that will give me nightmare fuel for future movies. I mean, I'll give you an example of a nightmare from about 3 years ago. I dreamt that I was along with my mother, was inside of a metal shipping container. We were taken out of the metal shipping container in some kind of cargo bay by what seemed to be American soldiers, who then proceeded to start, we were both naked, they then proceeded to start chipping my mother to pieces with some kind of woodworking tools, while I was screaming and begging with them to stop. And then I suddenly realized, hang on, that can't be real, because my mom's already dead. So therefore you can't kill her, because this is a dream. This isn't really happening. At which point the officer guy in charge, who looked a bit like Josh Waller, the producer from Color Out of Space, said to me, "Well, yeah, you tell me then, what was Rousseau's third principle?" And it was like, what are you talking about? Rousseau's third principle. And it's like, well, you can't tell me, right? Because you don't know, because you didn't study political science, whereas I did. Ergo, you cannot be dreaming me. Which is so, and I had to wake up and look up Rousseau's third principle to even know what he was talking about. Which was, there was a bit after that where it seemed like some kind of insect or dragonfly mantisy thing was coming out of his head, which was he had something that was also living inside him, which was, it was a freaky dream. But the bit where he where I tried to argue that it was a dream and he proved that it wasn't, was very, very upsetting. But yeah, just bad dreams.
That's a very, very, like, that's kind of terrifying, the idea that it's like you're like somewhat conscious of the fact that you're in a dream, and then it kind of turns it back on you and proves you wrong.
That's happened a couple of times. I've tried to gain lucidity within the dream by arguing that it was, by discovering it was a dream, and then it's turned it around at me. And even to the point where it, of course, destabilizes one's perception of what is real to begin with. The uncanny sensation that I'm being dreamed, or that I am part of a dream, is difficult to fully escape. It's like I sometimes feel like I'm part of a fiction. It's very eerie, and the sense that AI gives me as well, of the notion that some kind of generative force could actually be generating a reality that is tactile and capable of olfactory senses, smell and things. It's starting to feel more and more likely in some odd way.
Yeah, it's quite unsettling in ways when you think about it like that. I just have one or two more things that I want to ask before I let you go. Do you get a chance now to see many movies? Do you have any desire to watch movies now? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, I mean, I still enjoy movies, but I haven't honestly been keeping up much, and so I admit I'm a little out of step with current trends. It's mostly been just because of lack of access out here in the mountains. As I'm about to port myself back into the UK, I hope to do a catch up.
So when you go to the UK, you're going to be there for a while, I would imagine.
Yeah, a little bit. It's down to me to take charge of the circus, to make the bear dance, and to ultimately put a bullet in the bear. So this is my destiny as Balthazar. So
do you like that when you mentioned you're going back to the UK for some time now for this new movie? Do you like going back to like everyday reality, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my reality anymore because I haven't been there in a long time. It's now, yeah, England 2026. But I'm also not going back as myself. I'm going back as Balthazar. I'm going back as Balthazar von Woozle, the patriarch of the circus family. So I'll be coming back to England as a fictional character, as a fairy tale character, which I'm vastly looking forward to. It'll be an interesting time. I will keep a Woozle diary for the course of it, because I think there could be a good material for future stories. I mean,
100%.
yeah, and my last word on Balthazar, I guess, is like a lot of folk. I always hated the circus, and because I hated the circus, I had to become the circus, and now I am the circus.
I like that. I like that. I heard you mention before that you still have a lot of love for Hollywood, even though it's changed vastly over the years, and it seems to be changing more and more. And some people think that old Hollywood is dead or whatever. What's your stance on like the current state of whatever Hollywood looks like nowadays? Are we fucked, or is there a way back?
I don't know. It's very strange right now. That's for sure. I mean, we seem to be very far out of touch with reality. It's but reality itself is pretty woogie. So what's happening with film? I don't know whether film will survive. I mean, at least as we know it, it's it's certainly tricky. I mean, it's we're in a crazy world. I'm working a lot with I'm making a lot of stuff at home on AI at the moment, and thinking about that because it's clearly going to be an issue, and that effectively it's much easier for people to create things which are completely fictional and completely synthetic. In to what extent we're still going to be able to create things which are actually made in the real world, and to what extent there is a real world even is starting to become a question. And I don't know. There'll never be a movie like Dust Devil again. We'll never with something which is completely real.
Do you think that's why people resonate so much with your work? Because there's this kind of tangible thing that, as unreal and as fever dreamish as they feel, there's something quite there's a human connection there where people can sense the difference.
Yeah, I would hope so. But we're living in such a different world. I mean, I was telling some folk the other day that they asked where was I from, South Africa, and I said I'd left in 1984, and which was a tricky time because it was still the time of the apartheid era and the apartheid regime, and they all just kind of blinked at me and said, well, what's apartheid? Sufficiently far back in the past now that it's starting to pass out of popular memory and popular consciousness. So it's becoming a different world.
Yeah, it's so strange. So for people who are either fans of yours already and want to keep up to date, or maybe someone's discovering some of your stuff for the first time, is there a place where you would say people are best keeping an eye on for potentially announcements, what might be coming next?
Yeah, beyond not much beyond my website and the Facebook feed. But generally, it's also not a good idea to tell people too much about what's coming up, just because if they're out to get you, they might try and get you. So generally, like the woozle thing, I try not to let the cat out of the bag too far in advance. But now that Blood and Honey 3 is mostly shot and in the can, and I'm actually shipping in to put a bullet in the bear, I can let it out of the bag and hope that no one will try to stop me from performing this essential task, because I hope to go down in history as the man who shot Winnie the Pooh.
I mean, that's a pretty good accolade, I want to say.
I reckon. I
Yeah.
never thought it would happen in this life, but that's what I'm going after for at least for May.
I feel like you've checked off a lot of probably bucket list items for most people already.
And then before the end of summer, I want Cynthia Rothrock to fight Steel Donkey in the steel mill in Wolverhampton. So these are things I'd like to do in the early to midsummer period, which before getting back to Lovecraft.
Final question then before I let you go. Why film? Why was that the right medium for you? And what has it meant to you over the course of your life?
It beats me. I guess I just loved movies from the moment I saw them. And I guess I was infected by King Kong and the films I saw when I was a kid. Instantly wanted to make them. It was the desire came early, and I've loved them all my life, and I've tried to go on loving them despite having every reason not to. I don't want to stop enjoying watching movies. So and
It's I love that answer, and I feel like it's a very two-way street, because as an audience member, and I know everybody else feels the same with the work you've created, you've given us that feeling. And I know I personally, and I know of other people as well who resonate a lot with your work, and that feeling of a piece of work getting you through a hard time, or it becoming I don't know, a source of comfort, that there's escapism there, that you can get away from maybe some of the real issues that you face in real life. I can put on some of these movies and, I suppose, escape for 2 hours and everything is okay. And then, unfortunately, when the credits roll, I have to come back to reality and the horrible real life. But I think it's a real two-way street, and I think it's important that you know that as well, that there's a lot of people out there who resonate with your work and want to see you continue to get that work out there. This has been a pleasure. It's like I said, I don't know if I've ever felt in all the conversations I've had over the years as excited and somewhat nervous, I think, as well, to have this conversation. And it's been a pleasure, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, it's gone all over the show. But I do tend to think that it's you're not just escapism. It's I like my work. I hope remains an act of rebellion. They're crimes against reality. I will try to shoot another one unless I'm stopped. And once again, the Woozles Toon Carnival is a crime against reality, and it's going to be touring, and we're going to. There's a punk aspect to these things, and so they're gestures in the face of death and in the face of the 21st century. So I'm going to continue to perform and to put on the show. To hopefully entertain and somehow reflect on what's happening. So I think it's the only legitimate response. I don't know how else to respond. I was sitting up the mountain wouldn't make sense. It's like some part of me is hugely enjoying shooting handheld in contemporary England. And if I get Donkeys finished and done, it's going to actually be my first proper English movie, which was set in the present day with British characters and set in the real world. So that would be a hugely crazy thing to happen, because I had never achieved that in the 25 years I lived in London. But now I'm living out of the country, I might finally succeed in making a British movie.
Which is funny, and it kind of circles back to, you know, what you mentioned at the start about things just kind of happen in a weird sequence, and things you were going to make you didn't make, and other things, and it all kind of comes around again. Like I said, Richard, it's been a genuine pleasure. I would love to keep in touch. I would love to do this again at some point, when maybe when you get back from potentially killing the bear.
Yeah, I get to shoot Winnie the Pooh, and that's a promise. The bear goes down in Act 3 by my hand.
So people need to keep an eye for that.
You got my word on that. And then I'm going to keep going, and Cynthia gets to fight the donkey later in the summer, which is, I figure, it's my only recourse at this point in time. Is I need to get back out there and shoot some material.
Yeah, and I think that's what we all want to see as well. For everybody listening and watching, the links to the Facebook and the website will be down below in the description. And I expect to see us do this again, maybe towards the end of the summer, and maybe we'll find out some more about what you've done to the bear and Steel Donkeys and everything else that's coming.
It's not just what I'm going to do to the bear. I mean, what's the bear going to do with me? The bear is not going to be happy a big shot, I can tell you.
Maybe not. Like I said, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time.
Take care out there. We'll see.